The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Okay, welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky, and we've got a caller on the line. We have Tony from Naperville who wants to talk about the Cubs. What's on your mind, Tony?
Hey guys. Hi, thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Hey, I work with a big Cardinals fan. He's a good friend of mine at work, but he's perturbed because he thinks that the Cubs are talking to Jason Hayward's agent and leaking to the press that they're interested in Hayward just to push up the price on the Cardinals and and crimp their payroll budget.
That's what Ryan Risky said earlier in the show, too.
He
thought that the Cubs are going to drive up the price for Hayward.
Yeah, I hope that's what they're doing. Drive it up another $20 million, handicap their payroll for a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah, I missed the first hour of the show today, so Ryan and I must agree. But, yeah, I'm not sure if the Cubs are 100% in on him either. It just doesn't add up. When they said they didn't have the money for Zobrist unless they traded Castro, and that they're went as high as they could at $160 million on price, and we're $50 million short of the final offer that he received from Boston.
Right.
So it doesn't quite add up that the Cubs would be in on a big contract.
Right, and Hayward's projected to get a deal in the neighborhood of 9 or 10 years, around $200 million.
Yeah, and if you look at his stats, they're good. I know he's a good fielder, but he's really a corner outfielder, not a center fielder. But his highest average ever was last year at 293, and his career average is 268. And I know he has a good on-base percentage, is 359 last year, and that was the highest since his rookie season. But in 2000, he hits 10 to 15 home runs a year. But in 2012, he hit 27. But his strikeouts jumped up to 152 that year.
Right, and I think what people like about him is that he, he's sort of starting to enter his prime. He's, I think, 26 years old or something like that. So he's finally starting to enter his prime. So while he hit 293 last year, he has the ability to keep that up. I think that's why a lot of people are sort of in on him, because he wasn't that good offensively the last few years. He's always been great defensively.
Right. He also has a cannon of an arm.
Right.
Yeah, I like him. Not at $200 million, though.
Right. Yeah, it's a little too much.
Maybe 120.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that a lot of he has a really good wins above replacement, just kind of like Zobrist. Both of them play really good defensively. They don't strike out much. They get on base. They have a good batter's eye. They have some power. And with Hayward, besides the year he hit 27 home runs, he's kind of been in the 10 to 15 range. I think he hit 18 his rookie year as well.
Right, and that'd probably be more what the Cubs need, is somebody with fewer strikeouts, more contact, even if it comes with fewer home runs, because they have a lot of home run hitters.
Right, and offense isn't the problem for them right now, except that they are to sign him, though. The concern is that right field is his position, and adjusting to center field at Wrigley with the wind blowing, it could be tough, and they wouldn't have very much speed in the outfield, because I assume that the expectation is Schwarber will be in left and Solaire's going to be in right, who doesn't have very much range as well.
Right, he doesn't have take a good route to the ball. He's got a great arm, but his route to the ball is below average. And you need a good center fielder between those two guys.
Yeah, for sure.
One that definitely has some sort of speed. That's why they've been looking at someone like Denard Span. Except, I mean, Hayward is a nice fit for them, except then they would have to trade Solaire for a starting pitcher, and I don't think at this point they're going to be making any more moves for starting pitching after signing Lackey and then going to give Cahill a spot or a chance to make the rotation.
Yeah, the price on pitching has just been so high this winter that I heard that that Cleveland Well, I heard that Atlanta wanted Chris Bryant for Shelby Miller.
Yeah, that would have been something that the Cubs would never do.
Yeah, Atlanta should have known the answer was no before asking.
I think they did, but
yeah, it's sort of interesting. We also wanted to get your take on the Bears game this Sunday against Washington. What do you think's going to happen in this game?
Well, if all the writers in the Tribune pick the Bears to win, they'll lose. And
right.
if they all pick them to lose, then they'll win, because that happens every week.
I know.
They've only won one game at home, and they're overdue to win a home game, so I'll pick them. But they're just too unpredictable.
Ryan Risky went with Washington, so that's kind of interesting.
That was just more out of hope to try to get another top 7 pick in the draft, finish 5-11. Because at this point in the season, there's really nothing that's going to happen. They already had a better season than last year. They don't have the walls in the locker room. Everyone respects the coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree. And finishing it in the middle of the pack, say it's 7-9 or 8-8, it's the worst place to be.
Right.
Because you miss the playoffs, but you can't get a really high-impact guy in the draft unless you really get lucky. And, they need it's too bad. I don't know if any of the quarterbacks this year are that outstanding. But.
No, not like last year with Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, because they have actually played really well, which I don't think we expected both of them to play as well as they have.
Usually, yeah, when there's 2 really good quarterbacks, one's good and one isn't.
Right.
And with the Bears, the thing is, you want them to lose out to try to get another high pick, where last year when you wanted them to, you knew they were going to, because their coaching staff just was not good. You knew they were going to be giving up a ton of points every game and not scoring very much, where this year their coaching staff is so good that it's going to be tough for that to happen, because John Fox, Vic Fangio, and Adam Gase are just too good of coaches to allow that to happen.
They are.
Yeah, and it's sort of, a frustrating thing too, that the Bears should have won. Now it's 4 games that they ended up losing. They should have beaten Denver. Although that one was tough at the end. They definitely should have beaten San Francisco last week. They should have beaten Detroit earlier in the season in overtime. And Minnesota, if they would have got that pick at the end instead of letting...
or if Sherrick McManus didn't fall down covering Stephon Diggs on that final touchdown.
Horrible.
So,
they also probably shouldn't have beat Kansas City, and there's probably one or 2 other games in there.
Green Bay.
They really almost blew the game against Oakland, even though they ended up getting 2 Robbie Gould field goals.
Yeah, they won that as time expired.
Yeah, they were fortunate there, and last year they only won 2 home games, and this year they have 1, so that's something they have to start winning at home. Winning.
It takes a big effort to go out there and see a game, and it feels a lot better when you leave. Like it was worth it when they win.
Right.
And when you don't, it's just a deflated feeling.
Especially for the Bears, because it's such a tough drive to get to Soldier Field on Lakeshore Drive. You got to get there early.
It's hard for it's hard for everybody, especially the whole parking situation there, which has always been screwed up.
Right, it's the toughest. If you don't have a parking pass, it's the toughest place to park of all the venues. Even tougher than Wrigleyville.
Yeah,
right.
It definitely is harder than trying to park near Wrigley Field, which really isn't that hard because they have a lot of things open up and everything. It's expensive, but at least there's always a spot.
You don't have people selling their garage spots because there's no one down there by Soldier Field.
Unless there's people who live on the lake. I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyways, Tony, we appreciate the call and giving your take on the Cubs offseason so far and the Bears so far. So you have a great night, and thanks for calling in.
You too. Great show, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was Tony calling to talk about giving his take on the whole Jason Hayward situation and then what's going on with the Bears. And I think now we can give our take on the Bears. Can they beat Kirk Cousins and the Redskins at home this week? You think yes.
I think yes.
I think they can. I'm just going with the Redskins.
Which
for our pick
is fair.
I mean, I
can
think
see it
Kirk
happening.
Cousins and Deshaun Jackson are going to have, because Deshaun Jackson, I think, is going to be able to run all over the Bears' secondary.
Yeah, that's true. And Kirk Cousins has actually played pretty well.
He has. We'll see if Eddie Goldman can get another sack. Did you know he leads all rookies in sacks this year?
I did not know that. That's actually pretty impressive.
As we've been saying, with this draft class has been so good, and they haven't their prize hasn't even played yet in Kevin White, and it looks like he might play in a few games at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's going to be another interesting development. Does he get in, for the end of the season?
If he's healthy, and they don't think there's a risk of re-injury, why not have him get some games under his belt so that next year is not like his rookie season?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. There's nothing wrong with having him play and seeing how it pans out. Hopefully he can do well those next 2 games, so you feel pretty comfortable next season, especially with Martellus Bennett will be all but gone then.
Yeah,
so that's another offensive weapon that's gone. So hopefully Kevin White can fill that spot and more.
Right, and hopefully maybe if they trade Bennett, they can get a 3rd or 4th round pick, because he is one of the most complete tight ends in the game, and he's really underrated.
Yep. He definitely is.
So that's going to do it for us today on the Sports Renegades. We thank you for listening. We talked about the Cubs and White Sox at the winter meetings, talked about the Bears, gave our NFL picks for the week. We'll be back on next Thursday from 6 to 8. We thank you for listening, so take care and have a great night.
The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.